It was the weekend before finals, and the 5 college students, Emma, Jack, Sarah, Mike, and Lisa, were looking for a way to relieve their stress. They decided to try out an old book they found in the library that promised to conjure a spirit from another dimension. What could go wrong? They thought. The group gathered around a small table and began the ritual. They lit candles, drew a pentagram on the floor, and recited the words from the book. At first, nothing happened, and they laughed nervously. But then, the room began to shake, and a dark cloud appeared above the table. Suddenly, a creature materialized in the center of the pentagram. It was a demon with red eyes, horns, and long claws. The students were terrified, and they tried to run, but the demon blocked the door with its massive body. "Who dares to summon me?" The demon growled. The students were frozen in fear, not knowing what to do next. The demon snarled and lunged forward, possessing the body of the nearest student, Emma. The group tried to fight back, but Emma's body was too strong, and she overpowered them. One by one, the demon possessed each student, using their bodies to wreak havoc on the campus. Mike went on a rampage, destroying everything in his path, while Sarah became a seductive demon who lured unsuspecting victims to their doom. Jack and Lisa were consumed by their innermost fears and became puppets of the demon, doing its bidding. The only student who managed to resist the demon's possession was Emma. She knew that she had to find a way to send the demon back to its own dimension before it was too late. She remembered reading about a powerful spell that could banish demons from this world. Emma went back to the library and searched for the book, but it was nowhere to be found. Desperate, she consulted an old professor who had studied ancient texts and rituals. He told her that the only way to send the demon back was to find its true name, which was written in the pages of the forbidden book. Emma realized that the book must have been hidden by the demon to prevent anyone from discovering its true name. She had to find it before the demon possessed her body again. Emma searched the entire campus, but the book was nowhere to be found. She was running out of time, and the possessed students were becoming more dangerous with each passing moment. Emma knew that she had to face the demon alone. She went back to the room where they had summoned the demon, and there it was, waiting for her. The possessed bodies of her friends were lying on the floor, and the demon's eyes glowed with a sinister light. Emma took a deep breath and stepped forward. She knew that she had to be strong and focused if she was going to save herself and her friends. She recited the words of the banishing spell, and the demon roared in anger. But Emma did not waver. She kept reciting the spell, her voice growing louder and more powerful with each word. The demon tried to attack her, but Emma dodged its claws and kept chanting. Suddenly, the demon's body began to dissolve, and a bright light filled the room. Emma shielded her eyes, and when she opened them again, the demon was gone. The possessed bodies of her friends lay still on the floor, and Emma wondered if she was too late to save them. But then she saw their chests rise and fall, and she knew that they were alive. Emma reunited with her friends, who had no memory of what happened. She decided not to tell them the truth, and instead, they agreed to put the whole incident behind them and move on with their lives. Emma, however, knew that she would never forget the terror that had befallen them, and the lesson that she learned about the dangers of summoning forces beyond their control. From that day on, she promised herself to be more responsible and never to play with things she didn't fully understand. In the small town of Millville, life was simple and predictable. The townspeople went about their days with a sense of comfort, knowing that their community had remained unchanged for generations, but all of that changed on a dark and stormy night as the rain poured down. A thick fog rolled into town, enveloping everything in its path. At first, the townspeople thought nothing of it, assuming it was just a normal weather occurrence. But as the days went on, the fog refused to dissipate, and strange things began to happen. People reported seeing ghostly figures walking through the mist, and eerie noises could be heard coming from the fog. Some residents even claimed to have been touched by a cold, ghostly hand while walking through town. As the town became more and more consumed by the fog, a group of residents decided they needed to do something about it. They began to research the town's history, hoping to uncover any clues as to what was causing the fog. What they discovered was shocking. The town had a dark past that had been buried for years. In the late 1800s, a group of townspeople had taken part in a brutal lynching of a young woman accused of witchcraft. They had hung her from a tree in the town square, and her body had been left to rot for days. The group of residents realized that the fog was the manifestation of the town's guilt and shame over the lynching. The ghostly figures were the spirits of those who had taken part in the lynching, and the eerie noises were the sounds of the young woman's screams echoing through time. The group knew that they needed to confront the town's dark past in order to dispel the fog. They organized a town meeting, inviting everyone to come and discuss the town's history and the role that each resident played in it. As the meeting progressed, emotions ran high. Some residents were in denial, while others were filled with guilt and remorse. But eventually, the group was able to get everyone to confront the truth of what had happened so many years ago. As the residents came to terms with their past, the fog began to lift. The ghostly figures disappeared, and the eerie noises faded away. The town was once again bathed in sunlight, and life returned to normal. The group of residents who had uncovered the truth knew that they had done the right thing. They had brought the town's dark past into the light, allowing the residents to confront their guilt and shame and move forward. And as they walked through the newly cleared streets, they couldn't help but feel a sense of peace and closure. They knew that the fog would never return, and that Millville could finally rest in peace. Story Samantha had always felt different from other kids her age. While they played with dolls and watched cartoons, Samantha preferred spending time alone, lost in her own thoughts. It wasn't until she turned 8 that she realized just how different she truly was. One day, Samantha was playing outside when she saw a figure approaching her. It was a woman dressed in a long flowing dress, but something about her seemed off. The woman was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes were filled with sadness. Samantha watched in awe as the woman approached her, seemingly unaware that she was even there. As the woman passed through Samantha, she felt a chill run down her spine. She knew then that she had the ability to see the dead. At first, Samantha was terrified of her newfound power. She didn't know how to control it or what to do with it. But as time went on, she began to see that her gift could be used for good. One day, Samantha was walking home from school when she saw a boy standing on the side of the road. He was covered in blood, and his eyes were filled with anger. Samantha knew that he was a vengeful spirit, trapped between the living and the dead. Samantha knew that she had to help the boy find peace, but she didn't know how. She began to research the history of her town, hoping to uncover any clues as to what had happened to the boy. It didn't take her long to find out. The boy's name was Jeremy, and he had been killed in a hit and run accident while riding his bike home from school. The driver had never been caught, and Jeremy's spirit had been trapped in the physical world ever since. Samantha knew that she had to find the driver and bring them to justice. She spent countless hours searching for clues, talking to witnesses, and even going to the police. But no matter what she did, she couldn't find the driver. As time went on, Jeremy's anger grew stronger. He began to lash out at the living, causing accidents and wreaking havoc on the town. Samantha knew that she had to do something before things got even worse. She decided to reach out to a local medium, hoping that they could help her communicate with Jeremy's spirit. The medium was hesitant at first, but eventually agreed to help. Through the medium, Samantha was able to speak to Jeremy. She pleaded with him to let go of his anger and find peace. She promised to keep searching for the driver, but she knew that she couldn't do it alone. Together, Samantha and Jeremy began to work together. They talked to witnesses, searched for clues, and even found a piece of evidence that had been missed by the police. Eventually, they were able to track down the driver. The driver was an elderly man who had been living in the town for years. He had never come forward because he was afraid of the consequences. But when Samantha and Jeremy confronted him, he confessed to the crime and turned himself in. With the driver caught, Jeremy was finally able to find peace. His spirit disappeared, leaving Samantha feeling a sense of relief and closure. From that day on, Samantha knew that her gift was a powerful tool, one that she could use to help those who had been wronged in life. And though she knew that there would always be more spirits to help, she felt confident knowing that she had the power to make a difference in the world.